All right, get this. What if a really common cholesterol drug, I mean one that millions of people take every single day, was actually hiding a secret weapon against cancer? It sounds wild, right? Well, today we're diving into the incredible story of a drug called Fenofibrate, and let me tell you, it's a story that sits right at this crazy intersection of big pharma, our own biology, and maybe, just maybe, a whole new way to fight cancer.
Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. We're talking about a cheap, generic drug. Something that's probably already in millions of medicine cabinets right now could be used to fight cancer. It almost sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? And honestly, that's the central mystery we're going to unpack in this explainer.
But, before we even get into all the cool science, the story takes a pretty suspicious turn. This quote here basically suggests there was a whole strategy to keep the cheaper, generic versions of this drug off the market. And that just makes you wonder, right? Why would they do that? What else might be going on with this drug that we don't know about?
In that question, it leads us straight into the drug's really murky past, a story that our source actually calls the cholesterol conspiracy. So let's peel back the layers. We're going to look at what this drug is and why its complicated history makes this potential new use even more amazing.
So first things first, what is fenofibrate? This isn't some super rare experimental drug. Nope, it's a pretty common medication from a class of drugs called fibrates. For decades, it's been the go-to for doctors looking to lower cholesterol and protect people from heart disease. It's been a quiet little workhorse drug, just doing its job. Until now.
Okay, so how on earth does a cholesterol drug end up fighting cancer? That's the big question, right? Well, the answer isn't found in a pharmacy. It's actually deep inside our own cells. We're about to take a dive into our own biology to find this tiny but incredibly powerful switch that literally controls how our bodies burn fat.
All right, so deep inside our cells, we've got these little things called peroxisomes. Now, you've probably heard of mitochondria, right? The powerhouses of the cell? Well, think of peroxisomes as the cell's metabolic managers. Their whole job is to break down fats for fuel or build new ones for other tasks. They're kind of the unsung heroes of our cellular machinery.
So who's telling these peroxisomes what to do? Well, it's a gene called PPAR-alpha. And you really need to think of this gene as a master switch. When PPAR-alpha gets flipped on, it is just like slamming your foot on the gas pedal of your metabolism. It basically screams at the peroxisomes to start burning through fat like there's no tomorrow.
And what's really amazing is that we control this switch every single day. Things like fasting or exercise. Yup, that flips the PPAR-alpha switch on, turning your body into a fat-burning machine. But on the flip side, a diet high in sugar, that slams the switch into the off position, and your metabolism pretty much grinds to a halt. It's a really cool example of how flexible our bodies can be.
And this is where it all starts to come together. If that PPAR-alpha gene is the master switch, then fenofibrate is the key that turns it. We're about to see exactly how this seemingly ordinary cholesterol drug can basically hijack our own cellular machinery and turn it into a weapon against cancer.
Okay, check out this chain reaction, because it's pretty brilliant. Fenofibrate gets into the body, and it just forces that PPAR-alpha switch on. That sends the peroxisomes into total overdrive, and they start burning up fat and cholesterol at an insane pace. And here's the kicker. A lot of cancer cells desperately need that cholesterol to build their cell walls and grow. So by revving up our own metabolism, fenofibrate is literally starving the cancer of one of its most important fuels.
But wait, it gets even better. It doesn't just starve them. Fenofibrate actually launches this multi-pronged attack. It can trigger something called apoptosis, which is just a fancy term for programmed cell death. It's basically telling the cancer cells to self-destruct. It also cuts off their supply lines by stopping them from building new blood vessels. And it can even stop them from spreading by blocking them from duplicating. I mean, for a simple cholesterol drug, that is a surprisingly sophisticated attack. Now, all of this sounds absolutely amazing in theory, right? But the real question is, does it actually work? Like, in the real world? So let's take a look at what the research says when this drug goes head-to-head with some of the toughest cancers out there.
And the findings are, well, they're pretty remarkable. For breast cancer patients, it actually helps protect the heart from some of the really nasty side effects of chemo. When used against glioblastoma, which is one of the deadliest brain cancers, it helps slow down tumor growth. For colorectal cancer, it can stop the cells from duplicating. With melanoma, it goes back to starving the cells. So you see, the details are a little different for each one, but the pattern is crystal clear. This drug consistently shows it has real anti-cancer potential.
So with all of this incredibly promising evidence,
What's next? I mean, the potential is obviously huge, but the scientific community is, and rightly so, being very cautious about all of this.
And really, that brings us to the bottom line. As exciting as all this is, we're just not quite there yet. The truth is, we don't fully understand all the ways this drug works, so before it can ever become a standard cancer treatment, we absolutely need more large-scale, really rigorous clinical trials to prove that these incredible findings hold up. And that leaves us with a really fascinating final thought. The whole story of Fenofibrate proves that sometimes these game-changing solutions could be hiding in plain sight, in cheap, generic drugs that we've had sitting around for decades. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other life-saving secrets are just sitting there on our pharmacy shelves, waiting for someone to find them?